deliver me these souls.
Yeah, they're not.
They're not working. They're not doing their jobs.
Right.
Fulfilling their job description. It's I don't have time for that.
Did they assimilate? Are they working, or what is the status of?
A lot of them live on assistance.
Is that right?
Yeah, because the men wear dresses.
And you're gonna get hired.
I mean, a guy with face tats all over his face has a better shot at getting hired than one of these guys.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean,
Yeah, who knows?
You
right?
make people uncomfortable. It's like, how come you don't see a woman in a full dress hijab, working at the Kroger? It's a checkout girl.
You're not going to.
It's going to make people uncomfortable.
Sure it is, yeah.
You don't know if you got a man or a woman underneath all that stuff.
Well, you got to assimilate too into a country. That's why the Italians didn't speak the language to us. As you're American, you need to learn the English language, and we're Americans now, so you don't need to know Italian.
Well, and families that were the most successful would ban the old tongue in the home. The fathers who knew if their child was going to have a fighting chance in this world, they couldn't be, the
right.
dirty dago,
right.
Right. As they were, being called. They had to be, Americanized.
You had to fit in.
Right.
And want to fit in, not just fit in because it's a.
Yeah.
America, we go for hamburgers.
We're here. Isn't this great?
Oh, sure it is.
You got to have that kind of feeling about it. But we're losing that. We have people out now actively protesting against this country, wanting to see it be shut down and changed. These demons are out there.
Yeah.
Okay, this is how it's being manifest. So I've been telling some of my dear friends, I said, be careful when you go out, because what you thought may have been a safe and sane place to go to before may all of a sudden change, without any kind of notice. And it can only take one person to sort of set off a group. Somebody
sure.
having
One
a
incident,
conniption.
absolutely. One incident can ignite, my God, an ungodly amount of activity and.
Yeah, they had 50-some people attacking these two people in Cincinnati, a week or so back. Just about killed the one woman, knocked her out cold. She's got brain injuries now.
What happened there, Laura?
You didn't Cincinnati?
I didn't see that.
You really got to watch the news. Okay.
Yeah.
A crowd of black people tore up a white guy and a white woman, knocked them both unconscious. And apparently there was a couple of people said the N-word, back and forth, but you don't know if it was one of the people who was attacked or somebody else in the group. Well, they people, in the black community are free to call each other the N-word.
Right.
But if anyone else utters it, there's, fighting.
Right.
So nobody really knows because the video doesn't quite show it. But there was a large group that set upon these two, knocked the guy out. The woman is terribly beaten and battered. A single mother was just there for a birthday party for somebody else.
God.
But I think a lot of the problem also is this took place the wee hours of the morning, somewhere between like 2 and 3 in the morning.
Okay. So
there's the other first thing. You got to be out of the places that you're going to no later than 11 o'clock.
Absolutely right.
You got to head home.
Right.
I'm sorry, but you got to take advice what your mom and dad said when you were growing up.
Yeah.
Your ass is home in bed by 12.
Yeah. So other things may have materialized and.
Well, nothing good happens after midnight.
Right.
Typically, I mean, it just really doesn't. You have to be careful about these things. But the world is changing. It's very loose with its, temperament and things like that. And, wrong is right, right is wrong. And Father Havel and others always instilled in me, right is right, even if nobody's right. Wrong is wrong, even if everyone's wrong.
Yeah.
You showed me the little picture of the little girl. I'll try to put that up here. It's so cute. Little girl says, right is right,
Oh, that's where I got that from with Father Havel. I thought you'd like that.
Yeah, so I'll use that. I'll show the people here. It's a cute little card.
Yeah. So I think that with Larry's latest information on the release of additional demons into the world is indicative of things are starting to happen. So the rebuilding of the third temple, of course, ushers in supposedly the man of sin, the Antichrist. I saw in looking for this stuff, there was pictures of Trump interacting with Netanyahu, and they're all, rebuilding the third temple. But Fox News never showed that. Any of the other stations never showed that. They didn't show, they're thinking about rebuilding the third temple. Well, it's a key feature, but you really have to dig to find those stories.
Well, mainstream media is in the pocket of the elites and trying, like our Bilderberg Society, our Rothschilds.
But where's Fox News? Aren't they normally open to?
Well, they're all looking to monetize. Everything's about money.
Secular.
And everything with Fox and all broadcasting is all about minutes and eyeballs.
Okay.
So they have to keep a fair amount of advertising going on. If the advertisers are upset about the story, they're going to pull out.
So they're not going to have it. Okay.
So all these things are in play right now when you're dealing with mainstream media and advertiser-supported things. The only thing, and I think that the world is changing in such a way that it's going to come down to podcasters, who have far more talent than we do, that are going to be the information gates for these things. And you're just going to have to learn to negotiate with your own self as to whose opinions and whose takes on things you resonate with.
Okay.
And so this is where I think the new realm of information sharing is going. I know some people, we've had our own, you guys are so inconsiderate, why are you so cynical and all like that. Well, I'm sorry you don't like the news, but,
Well, this is the stuff, he's gone through, and the things that I've read. It's not a lot. Most of the stuff is being pulled from the Mystical City or this book or this this other one I just got a hold of. But if I could, please, I got so many things going on, I can't keep it straight. Here in Maria Valtorta's The End Times, which is an extract of the 5,000 pages of things that are associated that Jesus said about the end times. And this is one of the things I think is kind of interesting. It's a profile of the Antichrist. It says, accordingly, you are to think that these are the warning signs, but it's not yet the hour. In other words, it was written in 1945. It's not yet the hour, but I'm going to tell you about.
So you think what you're seeing is...
No.
Right, but it's not.
In 1945.
Right.
Yeah, because you had World War II.
But you're saying in the moment, everyone's thinking it's happening now. Okay. And this is what I say is our predisposition as people, as humans. We always think that something has to happen now.
Right.
But we're not playing a long game or realizing that heaven doesn't have a clock.
Right.
And so this is what I think she's keying into. Yeah. You may think it's all about now, but no, it's really...
There's going to be more time yet.
Let me tell you about it.
But I believe with this rebuilding of the Third Temple, which has been the Greek doctors of the church, the Roman doctors, Vincent Maselli, Cardinal Newman, they're going to make a doctor of the church here, I guess, soon. But this is what these people said, is that, when that temple is built, this is when the whole thing goes down.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so...
They're trying to play... They're thinking there's this, spiritual hokey pokey going, and you do this and then that happens.
Right.
They think that there's some sort of answer back.
Right.
But I think what God does and heaven does is says, okay, you build it, we'll see what you do with it.
Right.
In the meantime, do you observe it?
Sure. And they could build it, and it might even be more, 20, 30 years before the guy appears. Who knows?
Right. It's like with the statue of Our Lady of America, if they process it into the National Shrine, with, limited fanfare, and then they just park her there and say, okay, we did it.
Right.
Okay.
That ain't what they were asking.
That's not what you're asking for, you to live it, and to mean it.
Right.
And that's why she wants such a public interaction on this and proclamation being done by the bishops.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want them to just do it and then walk away.
No, there should be the indwelling, the divine indwelling within the bishops and within the people that go there to honor her. There should be live in me, Lord.
Right.
And I allow you to love the world through me, so whatever you can do, you know what I mean, do it. But at any rate, we're up another notch here. And so our Lord says to Maria Valtorta, let's see here, they are here, the forerunners of the one whom, as I said, can call himself negation, evil made flesh, horror, sacrilege, son of Satan, revenge, destruction. And I could go on and on, giving him clearly and dreadfully informative names, but he is not yet. In other words, 1945. The Antichrist is not yet. And he says he will be someone. This is interesting. He will be someone very high up, like a heavenly body, not a human star that shines in human sky, but a heavenly body from a supernatural sphere, giving in to the enemy's enticements. In other words, somewhere in heaven, or when he was formed, or his soul, something's going on different. He says, not a human star that shines in a human sky, but a heavenly body from a supernatural sphere, giving in to the enemy's enticement. He will experience pride after humility, atheism after faith, lust after chastity, and craving for gold as opposed to poverty, the thirst for honors after concealment. It will be less frightful to see a star of the vault of heaven shoot down than it will be to see this elected creature hurled down into Satan's coils. So they're describing him as having somewhere in probably the formation of his soul, the attributes.
He's predestined. He was preordained for this.
And then he fell into the coils of Lucifer. So, for whatever reason, I imagine it would be the same thing. Seduction of power. Mm-hmm. You will be a god. I mean, Lucifer's lying his ass off to him, all right? You ain't going to be no god under Lucifer's control.
Well, Lucifer does lie. He destroys, but it's his game.
It's his game.
Yeah, and people want to believe these easy solutions to things because it doesn't call on them to have to do work or heavy lifting. They just have to receive, and all I have to do is say yes. And this is what's going to happen, I think, with these attacks and these demons, softening up the playground, if you will, of these, fertile and easily accessible minds that we have out here, because people are not willing to exercise their own critical thinking. They would just rather be stupid and go along with the crowd for the sake of getting things.
I've heard people say, it's much easier to live in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
Live in the dark.
Well, being blissfully ignorant. They would rather be blissfully ignorant and still make sure that their waffles are on their plate in the morning.
That's it, right.
Right. As long as I'm still getting the free waffle at the Quality Inn, my life is good.
That's right.
This type of thing, this type of thinking. Well, your room rate's going to be going up. Well, I still get the free waffle in the morning, right? You're not taking that away, are you? Well, no. But you're going to pay for parking. But I still get the waffle, right?
That's right.
And
simple as that.
It's how people are so accustomed to just having their foundations cut out from underneath them and then going along with it. And this is kind of like what happened, with, even our own church here when they shut down the traditional Latin Mass.
Yeah, there's a battle over that.
It's. You think that the Russia thing was a collusion of the deep state making this stuff up? Well, the Vatican did the same thing.
So that's threatening to them. That old order of the Mass, or the Latin Mass, is very threatening to the progressives.
Well, because of what it brings with it, and that's conservatism.
Okay.
The Latin Mass feeds a conservative nature of people and the depth of things. We were talking, and who was the one woman you'd sent me, that she had understood that when she was going to the Latin Mass and then they took it away, and then she realized when they took it away, even though she wasn't a big fan of the Latin Mass, because she put up with it. I think her husband liked it or whatever, but she didn't speak Latin, and so she didn't really know what was going on. But when they took it away and she was just left with the regular Mass, she came to the realization, she says, oh, I get it now.
Wow.
It was always about control. It was her trying to control things. But when she went to the Latin Mass, she didn't know what was going on, and so she felt out of control. But what she realized, though, after it was all taken away, was that even though somebody was still in control. that knew what was going on, and that's what she needed to yield to. The priest knew what was going on, and she could tell by the way of their rites and rituals and the depth of the passion that they went about these things, that she was realizing that this was my loss.
Prior to sending you that, and the reason I sent you that was because you had talked about that same interaction.
Yeah.
And you kept saying, no, it's what's affected here is power and control. And so I think the next day or two or something when I got back, that thing comes up. It's just Larry's got to see this.
Well,
because you're articulating the dynamic.
Right.
And I think, oh my God, gee, here it is. Here's a lady testifying.
Who's self-realizing that very thing.
Yeah.
And so I talked about this in most recent podcast, but we'll go over it again. In the late term of Pope Francis, the Vatican had done a worldwide poll of all the bishops, wanting to get their stance on the Latin Mass. You know, what their thoughts were. Did they think it was good? Was it bad? Was it helpful, destructive? All these things. And they took all these results back in, and then they said to the world through Francis's declaration then, when he shut down the Latin Mass in parishes and things like that, and reserved it only for oratories and other places like monasteries, you know, where the regular patrons of the church don't go on a weekly basis like the parishes.
Right.
And so what they want to do is reserve it and then have the bishops, you know, wean this back into a very select area where the Mass could still be practiced so that they didn't just lose everybody along the way. Because if they did a complete castration of, you know, elimination, you'd have seen so many doors slamming and not opening
They
again.
had to go very slow, you're saying.
And there's what they're doing. Well, somebody in their wisdom, what they said was the poll results were overwhelming, that the bishop said it was demonstrably negative upon the impact of the growth of the church.
And
This is what they reported.
And what did the Vatican say?
Well, the Vatican said that the results of the poll said that there was this negativism that was reported by the bishops. That's what they said. But the poll results actually said the exact opposite.
So they lied.
Yeah, they lied about it. And somebody leaked the actual poll results to the world. Now, who could that be?
You probably know more than I do.
It wasn't me. Well, let's think about
Who had the
people
insight on it?
who had the access to it, who was around at that time and still in good favor at the Vatican. He's an archbishop. Vigano. They moved him to being the liaison to the United States because they knew that he was the helpful link to keep the United States, as they were doing this wind down of conservatism to modernism. They thought that Vigano would be the likely character to help move the United States, North American Catholic Church, into stead with their one world order type thinking.
So how did they miscalculate his...
Well, the man has a conscience, and he took an oath as a priest, and he was living that. And he says, no, this is not right.
Wow.
And so he started talking back about things like Bishop Strickland did down in Texas when he, voiced concerns about the authority and the correctness of Pope Francis. Okay. Or with the shutting down of our friend Cardinal Burke, who's now basically having to, and they took away all of his powers or whatever his
he was high up at one point under...
Well, he was head of the Supreme Court of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, wow.
Apostolic Signatura. He headed that. But he was put in place there by Benedict XVI. But, Francis and his Lavender Mafia were not going to have a conservative voice chairing that,
Yeah, you're right, because John Paul didn't slam down conservatives. He was basically conservative himself, John Paul II.
Well, he knows that the seat of the church rests on that conservative basis.
And Paul VI, regardless of him, we were still too thick into to the old style of the church as he was like winding through and demolishing his aspect of it. And John the 23rd was the first one that opened up Vatican II, but he didn't live long. So you're right, really, in terms of transition of takedown, it's more recent.
Well, a lot of people think that being liberal and being, able to give extreme amounts of gifts and things like that is the compassionate thing to do. When a real conservative knows that it's better really to teach somebody how to fish than to give them a fish. That's an old school thing.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Because you're always going to be repeating the cycle.
It'll be over and over.
But the church's strength rests in its conservatism, not in the liberalism. Because the liberalism was that pendulum swings this way and that way. It always swings back, and when it swings back, it swings further. And that always causes people more concern. So we've had people following this liberal swing, coming out of the Obama years and stuff like that, and then the disastrous 4 years there with Biden. But what that allowed Trump and his team to do is to realize for that 4 years they're able to take stock while they're still being attacked. They're coming up with an actual plan of action.
Yeah, that was brilliant, by the way.
And they're affecting it right now.
That was brilliant, yeah.
But,
I got a question for you.
Sure.
It's a little bit off subject, but not necessarily. There's a lot of people, the Palestinians, that are wanting to live in that rubble, and of course nobody. The Arab states don't want them.
You talking about Gaza?
The Gaza Strip, yeah. And the Arab states don't want to take them. They're even saying, well, Egypt could put them on the Sinai Peninsula. I mean, it could actually put them there and, I don't know, all right? But there's concerns now about that there's starvation going on and that there's not enough food and distribution, and that they yielded to a private company to do this distribution that apparently one of the fellows...
Well, the UN's been handling that.
Well, they say they're not now, but when UN handled it, they got the food to them. But my question is, I mean, as a group of people, you can't just say that all of them are, there's children and so on and so forth. But certainly we can't let them starve. You can't.
Well, the whole starvation thing, I think, is just all a media bullshit.
Do you?
Well, yeah. If there was starvation going on, they would rise up against their captors, that being Hamas. If you're that hungry, you're going to fight, and they're not. Unless they're knocking down, tens of thousands of their own people, which,
okay.
I wouldn't put it past them. But, they floated around this photo the last month or so I've seen of a woman holding this pathetically emaciated child.
Yes.
Okay. Do you notice that the mother looked very, very healthy?
I haven't, no, I didn't.
The mother was very healthy and very,
Okay, so you're saying there's more propaganda going on.
Well, the mother was very, very healthy. If you go to the larger frame of that same photo, there's the child's brother is standing there next to the mother underneath the child that the mother is holding. The other son looks very, very healthy.
So something's going on.
Kind of fat, almost like a cherub.
Okay.
Okay. What the mother was holding was her son, who has, what is it, has a muscular disease.
Muscular dystrophy?
No, it's something like that.
Okay.
But
there's atrophy of the muscles.
Right.
Okay.
The kid is sick. He's dealing with. I don't know if it's muscular dystrophy, but it was something like that.
Something that was consuming him.
Yeah, and this is like.
So it may not have been food starvation, but some other disease.
No, he's sick and he can't hold weight, and
Okay, all right.
but the mother is healthy, the other son is healthy,
Okay.
but the sick child,
Yeah, because Israel doesn't want to be cast as a group of people that's starving out.
They're sending millions and millions and millions of tons of food in, but they can't go in and distribute it. So they're getting it to the border, getting it to the distributors, but then the Hamas people are taking it and sidetracking these truckloads, taking them to a different warehouse where they're either selling it off to other groups or whatever. They can't even take it out through Egypt. Because what's Egypt got between it and Gaza?
Yeah, it's interesting.
An even bigger wall than what the Israelis put up between them.
So
the Egyptians are not going to have any of these Gazans coming their way.
Trump was even saying that with this oil that was being purchased by India from Russia, that half of it they were selling it on the open market.
Could be.
I mean, but here you see these. Everybody, it's always money and power. I mean, people, when are you going to just do business? You know what I mean? And then they're grabbing more oil, and then this whole thing with the war between Russia and the Ukraine. When's that going to end? I mean,
it's probably going to end when certain people die. You know, I think one of those might be Putin, and the other one might be Zelensky, because he's not clean hands on this thing either.
Right.
None of that is clean hands.
Okay.
You know, it's all messed up.
Okay.
And what you have to do is somebody's got to. There's an element of truth here. There's an element of truth here,
you don't know,
and there's a
right?
bunch of lies in the middle.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. It's almost like you look at it and you're thinking, this doesn't seem to be going to be positive for anybody.
Well, as long as people keep reporting for war, and mothers and fathers keep sending their sons in to do these things, they will continue. You know, how do they get out of a war? Well, one of the things is you stop fighting.
Right.
You know,
simple.
And
right.
they say, well,
yeah, you're right. It's how much Putin. You say to Putin, you got a beautiful landmass. You're a throwback to the KGB. You're worth billions of dollars because you started killing oligarchs, and then finally the oligarchs said to you, well, what's it going to take for us to live? And you say 50%. I mean, here you got.
And what's he doing with it? But it's not money anymore. It's the fact that he can exact power over these people and to keep them suppressed and down, because I'm going to get my way on these things. And this is what a lot of things are happening even in our government here, is that if they don't get their way, you hold the whole thing hostage and you extort to get money back. And that's kind of like, you know, what these people
Schumer's
running
doing.
from, well, and I think it's funny, Trump told them to go to hell because they were trying to extort it for $2 billion.
They gave him $999 million, and he wanted $1.5 billion or something.
He wanted another like $2 billion for
right?
National Institute of Health, so they could keep their scam going to come up with another fake, you know, outbreak or something like that.
Jeez.
So I mean, it's not going to get fixed probably in our lifetime, but I'm hoping at least some sense of reasoning comes about these discussions. So, but we're going to wrap this up here a little bit. We got a couple more topics we're going to talk about, so we're going to take a little break, and we'll come back. So we'll finish off this segment here. So we'll come back, though, and I think we'll be having a little bit more to talk about Maria Valtorta and some of these other things, and Archbishop Knowles' new book you picked up, which is actually written when he was still a priest, back previous to 1925. Very, very heavy clout. This book here is called Civilizations Build, and this particular book was written by Knoll when he was still a priest. That would have been pre-1925. There's no date on it, but it was written and published by his printing group, the Sunday Visitor, out of Huntington, Indiana. But what he talks about in here is how Islam was pushed back out of Europe in his lifetime the first time, and how it was done, and what was the actual tool that pushed them back out of Europe.
He talks about what Europe would have looked like if they had conquered.
Right.
And so it's like he was way. He was an Einstein.
But he would be furious right now if he saw what was going on in the churches right now with trying to welcome this influence into the church and into our culture without the benefit of. I don't think these people doing this today are priests and bishops or whatever that are coming out with these, you know, cards that you saw at church, with all the different symbols.
Church and a prayer of peace, and it had the Star of David, it had the cross for Christianity, and then it had the moon with that insignia, saying that we all pray to one God. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go. We all pray to one God, and let's pray for each other, and we'll sing Kumbaya, and let's invite them all in. And it's crazy. It's crazy. Noel knew the story of the Muslim religion, and the defeat of them as a result of I think, Poland and some of the Christian armies that went up against them. But Knoll says, can you imagine what Europe would have looked like if they had conquered?
And he said, who was the only one that stood up against them? Was the conservatives in the Catholic Church. All the others walked away and welcomed them in under this veil of empathy.
Wow.
And that's what they're doing now. They're doing the same thing now.
So he knew the playbook.
He knew the playbook, and he said, don't fall for the bullshit.
Right.
He's telling you right here. So we're going to get into this a little bit when it comes up. So don't fall prey to the methods and the end goal of what they have for it. It's not for being peaceful. It's for being to exact power over you and to put you out of your own homes and to make you submit. This is their game plan. This is what's in their writings. You should believe it. You know, don't sit there and, you know, give them a pass each time saying, oh, they're our brothers. We have to. Well, you better be working on trying to convert them. Yeah. And I don't see anyone trying to go out and really try to convert the Muslims from our perspective from the church.
Now and again, you'll see a Muslim that our Lord will take particular interest in, and they begin to confess, this is what I read, this is what I thought, and, you know, I kept on, you know, badgering, you're not the Son of God, and finally God said to me, and all of a sudden they have a conversion, but no, you don't see any massive conversion of the Muslim. Now
well, you don't see any push from the other Christian churches to sit and say, no, this is not right. We need to push back. You see some street preachers here and there, but you don't see the main bodies, the main authorities calling this stuff out. They're all wanting to get along
And that card that I described was in one of the pews of Catholic churches. So they're promoting it. Somebody's promoting it.
Well, they're probably all saying the prayer together at some point at the end of the Mass.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they do. Have you seen that?
No, I've seen them do it, and I walk out.
Yeah, that's what they do. They do that prayer.
Yeah, I'm walking out. I'm walking out. It's before the final hymn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, that's it.
God.
No, you're going there? No, not going to do that. You know, you're losing it. You're throwing it all away. Yeah, I mean, you're no better than Luther back, you know, when he was calling for the Reformation. You know, he was right about a lot of things.
He should have stayed in the fight, though.
He should have stayed in the fight, but he threw away the Eucharist.
Right.
And that's the thing. You know, he threw it all away. He was right about a lot of things. He should have stayed and fought for his thoughts on these things, but he shouldn't have thrown away the Eucharist. And that's the real problem that the Protestants have.
Did he finally do that, Martin Luther? Did he finally throw away the Eucharist? Because initially I thought they were still doing it.
But they still have the Eucharist, but they don't believe it is the true body and blood of Christ.
That was the difference.
They still have communion.
Okay.
But they don't see it as being the true body and blood of Christ.
Right, no.
That's what he threw away.
I see. Okay.
That was the whole point of the Mass.
Okay. Right. Yeah, it's not a memory. I mean, it's right. You can have it a memory, but he's not present.
Right, and that's what Father Abel said. You know, Luther was not wrong about everything.
Right.
And so, and this is right now. We're not wrong about everything here, but we need to be holding our priests and our bishops' feet to the fire on this, because they're not doing what they were instructed to do. And we've been told, and we've been admonished by our predecessors, that being Archbishop Knoll and Archbishop Fulton Sheen and others. These guys are just one that did put it all in writing and talked about it many times on their programs. You know, it's our job to make sure our priests behave like priests and our bishops behave like bishops.
One of the things the seminaries can do is write to our Sunday Visitor and get a bunch of these copies made. And as you instruct these new young people coming up to be priests, see if they can learn anything. Well,
amazing books. They should be reading these books by Knoll, okay, because they were from that period of 100 years ago when we were fighting this fight at that time. But at that time, the opponent wasn't so
consolidated or powerful.
Powerful, didn't have the tools.
They were hiding in the
shadows.
Well,
they were latent. They were there, right. But they didn't have the media in their back pocket. And also, besides reading these things by Knoll to try to get this more of a conservative thinking and a base, if you will. It's not this modernist approach. You don't know what you've lost if you don't know what was there. You know, and so you need to do some research back on this. And the other things, are these books, the City of God. Our young priests have no idea about this.
Not a clue.
They don't have no idea that it even existed or what it's about. They just think it's just all mumbo gumbo.
Oh, sure.
But this is the backbone, along with the Bible, that brought us our guys like Noel and Sheen.
That's right.
And others, the great movers of the church from 100 years ago, that put the North American Catholic Church on its path towards its zenith. But I think right now it's all falling apart because I think, again, they're throwing it all away by saying all religions lead to God.
I'm the same, yeah, no.
There's something terribly wrong with that thinking, and this has to be corrected and has to be brought back in focus for what it is, which is an error. And if it was an intentional error, then that's a bigger problem than what we got. But, it's like with this polling results, being skewed. Well, don't tell them that. We're going to tell them this. They'll believe whatever we tell them.
Imagine that.
Until somebody comes and blows a whistle and says, no, the poll results, they said it was all bullshit. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was Archbishop Vigano, because he was in the loop at that time, so he would have had these things, and he would have probably been responsible for trying to get the opinions out of the North American bishops. And so he would have known at that time that there was a fundamental and foundational core of bishops around this country.
It's interesting that they would still have that allegiance towards the Latin Mass. I'm surprised that the bishops...
Well, they know that the truth is held in that. And it's like the woman said, even though she didn't understand what was going on, she realized that somebody there actually did, and she was there to learn. And it wasn't about her being in control. It was about her being, there to observe and to love on Jesus a little bit more through these rituals.
Well, the modernism was not flowing in their veins to the extent that they, which is good news. You got right.
Right.
Maybe there's hope that they're going to process her. They should process her in spite of these clowns.
But if they do, then
these are not legitimate popes. Process our lady. Go ahead and do it. Spit in her face. Stand up.
They wouldn't consecrate Russia. I don't think they'll do this because both of them. Well, both of them call for them to take action and then to live with that action.
Right.
But I don't know if they're ready to do that because, do you remember I told you a story about the head guy from the shrine at Lourdes had come to visit me in 2005?
I remember.
I called him the senior Monsignor because the shrine at Lourdes is run by a committee of Monsignor level priests.
Okay.
And this guy was the head one of all those, so we just called him the senior Monsignor. Okay. It was just...
He came to visit you?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Well, he wanted to tell me about, and I had questions about, what to expect in the growth of something like this. And he pulled me aside and he wanted to tell me outside of the listening of the rest of the group. He said, Larry, he says, you got a problem here. And I said, well, what's that? He says, no bishop wants a Blessed Mother in his backyard. It's too much work. He says, I said, well, that's why I've been saying that the push for this and the real growth of this is going to come from outside the diocese. He said exactly right.
Okay.
He says the local diocese will do all they can to quiet it and shut it down. Now, things are a little bit different now, 20 years later, from when he told me this. But he very, very wisely said, no bishop wants a Blessed Mother in their backyard because it's too much work.
Jesus.
And I said, you'd think? He says, yes, you would think. But
they don't want it.
Yeah, there's
same thing in Garabandal. The bishops didn't want anything to do with it, and those apparitions were. What those kids went through was really. It's obvious what's going on.
Yeah, well, I can
They don't
understand.
want anything to do with it. Then years and years ago, they appointed a bishop that was from Agreda, Spain, to Garabandal. Mm-hmm. I think, maybe something's going to happen. Nothing happened. They don't
Another company man.
Jeez.
Well, they know who they're moving around and why they move them around.
Okay.
Because they know what the underlying temperature and the arguments are in these areas. So they bring in someone who can basically hold steady so that the company doesn't have to answer to these things.
Wow.
We're not ready for that we're not ready to roll that product out yet. We're going to keep.
Well, they rolled out the one in Medjugorje. I think they got hot dogs or something.
No, they knew how to make money off of that now.
Is that right? That's probably
well, as soon as they can monetize it, it's all full go. That's we'll see what happens at these other places. I mean, I don't know how things are going up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. There with Bishop Ricken and their thing up there. I forget the name of that one up there. I don't know, is that
with Our Lady of Guadalupe? Or?
No, it's like Our Lady of Good Hope, or not a Good Hope. It's
where
they had
the Good Hope thing.
They had the fire and all like that.
Right,
happen.
the Good Hope thing, yeah.
Is that Good Hope?
Yeah, I forget what they call it, but he's focusing on that.
Yeah,
particular thing.
But I think for a long time it was well attended. I don't know how it's doing now. Yeah. I mean, Green Bay isn't the easiest place to get to.
Yeah. Right.
So it probably holds down the numbers by its natural, ability to. I mean, there's no major highways run you there. It's all,
Well, I don't know we're the faithful, right? Either. I mean, we're the you get people with all different takes on their faith and religion and apparition. And you see a lot of distortion, like the stuff with Lucifer, Picaretta, and and then you get on that bandwagon, and it's there's hundreds of these things out there that people could pursue. But
if they would stay on the dartboard and keep going for the bullseye, they're going to be better off than trying to hit these 3-point circles around the outside. And but